Hey, I'm Allison. I'm a reading specialist and the author of the blog Learning at the Primary Pond, and we are going to chat a little bit about starting up writing at the beginning of the school year. If you are just joining me, welcome. Feel free to say hi. Let me know what grade you teach. That'll be helpful to me in kind of structuring what we're talking about. But the reason why I wanted to talk about writing above all other things is that for me, at the beginning of the school year, starting the kids in writing seems like it can be one of the most challenging things. And if you think about listening, speaking, reading, and writing, writing is actually the hardest of all of those things. And so then it makes sense that our kids are maybe struggling a little bit at the beginning of the year when it comes to writing. Now, I've taught kindergarten, first, and second grade, and they all have their unique challenges. It also really depends on your group of kids, right? Like sometimes you may have kindergartners who, like in my experience, many times they don't know any letters. They sometimes don't know how to write their name. And so they're not writing yet. And your writing workshop at the beginning of the year is not writing. And actually I have pulled up next to me, just kind of for me to refer to, is the sequence of lessons that I use in my kindergarten writing units. I should have put the links to those. I will have to do that later. But the reason why I'm going to talk about that is because we really start out drawing at the beginning of the year, and writing workshop is not so much writing. It's more a lot of drawing. But anyway, my point was that each grade level has its own unique challenges. With kindergarten, you're like, okay, like we are nowhere near writing. Like, how do we get there in a developmentally appropriate way? Or maybe you have some kids that actually are writing a little bit and others just who aren't at all. And so how do you balance those things? And then with first and second grade, maybe your students have had some writing experiences already. Hopefully they have, but maybe they weren't good experiences, or maybe they feel like the teacher that they had before, like she had a certain way of teaching writing and you have a different way. And maybe they're not able to like transfer that knowledge. I remember one year, I was teaching the bilingual track, and so all of my kinders went to the same first grade teacher, and my kinders were writing, and when they came to her, this was a while ago, she was like, what do you mean they were writing? Like, they can't write. And the reason was just because I had been having them write in like 3-page booklets, and she was just having them write like paragraphs, like all on one page. And so just that small like difference in our styles made her think that they didn't know how to write, and they do know how to write, or they did know how to write. They're much older now, but that difference was confusing for them, and it affected their ability to produce writing at the level that she thought they should be able to. So anyway, my point here is that we all come into writing teaching different grades, depending on who's here. I see Amy teaching kinder, Jennifer teaching first grade, Yaeli teaching kindergarten. Feel free to let me know anybody else who's here, because I'm curious what grades you teach. Hey, Abigail, another kindergarten teacher, awesome. But our kids come in with different abilities. We're all kind of teaching different grade levels, and there's different challenges to each one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically go from like I would say like developmental order or chronological order, from talking about kids who really aren't writing at all. Maybe they can't even write any letters, and I'll kind of work my way up. I'll say like kindergarten, first and second grade, but really, you can have first graders, maybe even second graders that aren't writing much either. So even though I may refer to a grade level, just know that I'm talking more like in terms of development. So wherever your kids fall, hopefully you will find something helpful. Hey, Phyllis in second grade, Sarah in first grade. So I'm seeing K1, 2, and that is perfect, because that is what we're going to talk about. Okay, there's these cool little bars that I'm trying to figure out how to show. Let's see if I can figure it out. Oop, no, oop. Oops, that was the wrong one. Show. There we go. Okay, so this neat little bar says teaching writing to kinders, pre-readers. That's what we're starting with. Let me make this go away. Okay, so you can probably see here, and it might be small on your screen, but don't worry, I'm gonna really talk you through it. You are looking at the sequence of lessons that I use with my kindergartners at the beginning of the school year. And pretty much no matter what kind of class I have, I think it's really important to start out just with drawing. Because to me, when I say writing workshop, You know, kindergarten teachers, it's not writing workshop, but what it is the expression of ideas. And at this developmental stage for many of our students, the way that they express ideas is through talking, of course, talking, lots of talking, and also through drawing. And so we need to take them where they're at and start the writing workshop that way. I don't wait to start writing workshop till like months into the school year. I don't wait till they know a single letter. We can start writing workshop because writing workshop is about them sharing their ideas and getting them out there on paper, whether it's through them drawing or them dictating something and then I write it down. It's all about sharing ideas and expressing their ideas. So if you can see this, and again, don't worry if you can't, we start off the writing workshop by just learning the most basic procedures. So how to use pencils safely, how to use crayons safely. So you can start this stuff like the second or third day of school. You can set aside that time that's eventually going to be your bigger writing block that's going to be, you know, a lot longer, and just take like 10 minutes and start working on these things. I give them their special writing folders, and they learn that if something, you know, maybe is still in progress, it goes on one side, and if they're finished, it goes on another, green and red stickers. They learn where to get more paper. I have like a 2 stacked little thing somewhere in the classroom, and they know that when they're done with a piece of paper, they can go get it by themselves. We learn to write our names on our work. They learn to share with a partner. And throughout all this, they're just getting a little bit of time. You know, I'm teaching them mini lesson, and their writing time is just drawing. And I really don't tell them what to draw. I don't give them any guidelines. It's just draw a picture. And some of them are scribbling, and that's fine. Some of them are using just one color. That's fine, but we're gonna grow from there. So I also teach them how to share with each other, how to talk about the writing or drawing that they're producing. So how to sit with a partner, how to show them, their partner, what they've done, and how to maybe even ask their partner questions or respond to their partner, give their partner a compliment. Very, very basic stuff. Wherever they're at, just getting them to the point where they can talk about their picture a little bit. And so after we've got kind of the basics down and kids have just, again, been drawing whatever they want, I'm not worried about what they're drawing, I start modeling how to draw to share an idea. Because sometimes, and you'll probably have seen this before, sometimes you'll have kids that are just drawing a rainbow over and over, and you have like 10 rainbows 10 days in a row, and that's fine, but we can go beyond that. And I want to show them, oh, you know, do you remember the other day when we played with the parachute at recess? Like, I can draw that. I can take that idea in my head and I can draw it. Or I can make something up. I was going to bring this to show you, but there's a book called Harold and the Purple Crayon. Don't remember the author's name, something Crockett maybe. But that shows Harold, this little boy, taking this purple crayon and drawing from his imagination. So that's a book that I like to read. Again, that was Harold and the Purple Crayon. Crockett might be the author. I apologize, I meant to bring it. But that's something we learned. Then we learned how to draw with more than one color, because we don't want them always drawing with just the purple crayon, right? We want them incorporating other. You can have an alphabet chart. I meant to kind of bring, there's one in the kinder, I'm sure there's one in this kinder unit. But when I'm modeling how to stretch out words, what I like to have displayed, sorry if I'm making you dizzy, here we go, is some type of alphabet chart. I do have a more updated one where there's actually a fox for X, but this is one I've used previously too. And so when I'm, you know, showing them dog, the first sound I hear is D. Well, that's perfect because there's a dog. We write the letter D, but now what? Da, O, like octopus. Octopus starts like ah. So then I write the O. So I'm basically stretching out the word and they're helping me. And I'm showing them how I connect sounds to the alphabet chart. And do they know all these sounds? No. I mean, some of them do, and that's awesome. That's wonderful. But if they don't, it doesn't matter because they can look at the picture and they know this is sun. Sun starts with S. So they write the letter S. Uh-oh, unstable connection. That is not good. Okay. Not sure, maybe I should keep going or stop. It says unstable connection. I'm gonna keep going and we will hope that everybody comes back in. I see people coming back in. Sorry if it like went out for you. I'm not sure what's going on. Not sure if it's my internet connection or what, but hopefully we're good to go. What I was saying is that as we're building up to the kids labeling their pictures, it's still drawing instruction, but I'm modeling here and there how to write different words, and I'm referring back to the alphabet chart as I do that. I've got like a big version, something they can all see. They will also have this in their writing folders to use when they are stretching out words, but I'm modeling how to do that. And so at this point, I'm not really asking them to label things. Those advanced kids, they might pick up on it and they might do it on their own. But then it comes to a point where I'm like, okay, you know, I've been showing you this for a week or two, and now I feel that you're ready to do it. So up until that point, I really haven't asked them to write. There's been some occasions where, like, you know, I'll have them dictate a sentence to me about their picture and I'll write it for them. But up until this point, I really haven't asked them to write. But I do choose a day when I'm like, okay, you know, I've modeled this multiple times. They have their alphabet charts. I'm now going to ask them to write a word. And so I just tell them, you know, boys and girls, this is the big day in our, you know, in our kindergarten year. You are going to get to write a word on your picture and I'm going to help you. And so, of course, some of them are like, I don't know how to write. You know, like their perception of writing is something that adults do, something that maybe their mom spells a word for them and they copy it down. So they don't necessarily view themselves as writers. So there can be that resistance. But what I do on that day when I'm like, okay, we're ready for this, what I will do is I will make sure, and it does take longer, it makes writing time take longer, but I will go to every child in the class. Even better if you have an aide, I typically have not, but go to every child in the class and help them write one word, just one word. And you kind of have to move fast because you don't want writing time to take like 3 years, but you want them all to have that experience of, yes, you know, my teacher has asked me to write a word and I wrote a word. And of course, you're probably going to be doing a lot of the work for them and helping them a lot, but you want them to have that feeling of I can. And so from then on, once they have that feeling of I can, it's not like it's all uphill and easy from there, but having had that experience, then the next day when you're like, oh, like, can you label this? Can you label this? Like, it feels a little bit more doable for them. And of course, you still probably have to give them a lot of help, but I really encourage that. And another great thing to do to get them wanting to do labels is that if a child is labeling, I will really celebrate their work and show their work to the class. Oh my gosh, you know, John did this and this and this. And that really motivates them as well. They also like getting to share with their partner because at the end of every writing time, they're sharing their picture with a partner. And so if they wrote a word, they get to share that with their partner too. So that is also super motivating. So from that point on, we're gonna move on to first and second grade in a second. And I guess probably I'll leave it with that for kindergarten just because kindergarten teachers keep watching. I'm going to talk about the transition from like just labeling to writing sentences. Hey, Luz, welcome. All right, let me change my little nifty thing here. Does this change? All right. So now let's talk about teaching writing to first and second graders. And again, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to pull up the list of lessons that I use for first grade. It's somewhat similar for second grade. But it's really not, what I'm talking about is not so much based on grade level, it's more based on developmental level. So we've gotten from drawing instruction to labeling instruction, and so now we're gonna get a little bit more into, sorry, this is very far in. We're gonna get a little bit more into sentence writing. However, I know that not all first graders begin the year of sentence writing, so first grade teachers, you may have to use some of what I just showed you. Here we go, finally. All right. Hey, Myrna, welcome. So let's imagine that we have a class of kids who, let's just say first grade, they've had some writing experience in kindergarten, but maybe some things have fallen off in the summer because I don't know about you, and let me know if you've had this experience, but sometimes you know that a class of kids has had like good writing instruction from the teacher, but then they come to you and it's like, they can't write at all. For every single word, it's like, how do I spell this? I can't spell that. I can't write this. And you're like, what happened? Because over the summer, you know, who knows what happened? Maybe they didn't have a lot of structured writing time or any writing practice at all. Something has just kind of fallen off there. So that's one of the challenges of, you know, getting students who maybe they've had some writing experience, but it's not transferring. So time out for 1 second. Before we move on, I just want to share a little book with you that is great for working with kindergartners or first graders. I meant to mention this with kinder, but it's Rocket Writes a Story by Tad Hills. This is a cute one if for launching writing workshop with kinders. Just wanted to throw that in there before we really move on to first and second. But okay. So the reason why I don't give them topics is because I don't want them to get hooked on me always telling them what to write about. I don't want them to be waiting for Mrs. Ryan to tell them, you know, you have to write about this or you have to write about that. Because part of the whole writing workshop experience is them choosing topics. And the way I teach it, first unit, but eventually I might pick nonfiction, but they're all, you know, they're writing about elephants or they're writing about soccer. They're writing about different topics within that genre. So anyway, for this first unit, I'm really not telling them what to write about at all. I'm just asking them to write a story. And we talk about, you know, as a class, like here are some strategies for figuring out what to write about. But beyond that, it's really open-ended. And I'll refer them back to that lesson of, oh, well, we talked about here are some things that you might write about, but I won't necessarily make suggestions to them if they're coming up to me and asking like, oh, what should I write about? I really want to put that responsibility on them. Now, later on in the year, I will give them a little bit more guidance. We do prompts. It's not like I don't give them any guidance at all throughout the entire year, but at the beginning of the year, I really want them to feel confident in their ability to, you know, come up with topics and write about things of their choice. Along kind of in that vein, they may come to you, and I'm sure you have students who do, they may come to you wanting you to spell words for them, right? But just like with choosing topics, I really believe it's important to let them figure out how to write words on their own. And it's not like I don't give support. It's not like I say, oh, figure that out by yourself. But early on, and you'll see lesson 10, this is my first grade writing workshop, unit 1. This is actually lesson 7. So really early on, I start teaching them strategies. This is how you stretch out a word. They probably had that in kindergarten, so it's review. I'll use the alphabet chart again. I'll encourage them to write high frequency words that I know. I start supplying them with strategies so that when they come up to me and they say, how do you spell this? Then my response is, well, what strategy are you going to use, or what are you going to do? And the same thing really goes for kindergarten too. I'm not telling them how to spell things. I'm putting the responsibility on them. Because if I, from the start of the year, am telling them how to spell different words, then they're going to begin to rely and depend on me. And it's not that you can't undo that if you've gotten into that situation. It's never, you know, too late. It's not that it's gone too far, but it is so much harder to get them unhooked, so to speak, on you spelling words for them if you give them that support at the beginning of the year. But if you don't give them that support, then they begin to rely on themselves, and you're teaching them strategies. Maybe you have an anchor chart. You're teaching them what they need to know in order to spell words on their own. So that's a big part of this unit 1. As they're just writing stories about really whatever they want, I am showing them spelling strategies so they can start to write words. I teach them the the line drawing strategy for sentences. And this is something that I also teach my kindergartners, just not necessarily right away in the school year. Jenny and Jennifer, yeah, I apologize for the bad connection. I'm really not sure what's going on. I feel like it's okay on my end. It might be like a Facebook thing or a connection between this program that I'm using in Facebook, so I apologize for that. I hope that it's recording smoothly. I don't know for sure. We won't know till the end, but you know, it'll be posted to my page if it did record, but I would encourage you to stick around just because I don't really know what's going on and it's acting kind of funny. So I apologize about that. Anyway, what I was going to talk about was the line drawing strategy. This is getting kids to move from labeling, which we talked about earlier with kindergarten, to writing sentences. Once I feel like, okay, like we're doing some labeling and now we're ready to write sentences, which is typically like the very end of my first unit in kindergarten, and maybe the beginning of my second unit if we don't get to it then. But what I want them to do is I want them to, A, come up with a sentence. That's step 1, right? B, remember it, which often they'll say a sentence and they completely forget it. And then C, put it into print. And that is a really hard process for kids. Let me know if you have seen your kids really struggling with the process just of writing a sentence. What I like to do is I teach them to say a sentence 3 times. They say it once, we went to the store. We went to the store. Then they count on their fingers. We went We went to the store. So 5 fingers means 5 words, and then I'll have them draw 5 lines. We went to the store. Now there's no words on those lines to start with, it's just blank lines, and this is something I model over and over and over again, but then they can put their words onto the line. So we went to the store. We goes on the first line, went goes on the second line, and so on and so forth. And I also encourage them to reread their sentence every time they get a word down. So we went, they're reading it, and then they figure out what goes next. And now if you teach kindergartners or even early first graders, their writing might be a lot of gibberish, but what you're doing is you're teaching them how to remember a sentence. You're teaching them that concept of word, that there are spaces between words, and you're just working with that process of them getting their thoughts onto the page. And so that kind of is the next step. I talked with kindergarten about drawing instruction, about how to, draw with details and all that. And then we talked about how to get them to labeling, and this sentence writing is basically the next step. And first grade teachers, even second grade teachers, you may have to do some of this, you may have to do all of this. It really just depends on your students. But above all, to me, that first unit, no matter what grade you teach, is about getting them excited about writing. Before the writing workshop even starts, I'll be talking about on the third day of school, we're gonna start our writing workshop. And I just try to make it special. I don't need fireworks or anything super fancy. I do love cute little read-alouds like this one by Tad Hills that I was showing you, Rocket Writes a Story. There's another one, shoot, I can't remember its name. The Best Story, I think it's by Eileen Spinelli. That's a good one. Look at My Book this is kind of more for older students, but it just goes through the process of brainstorming. This is Laureen Leedy. Yeah, Laureen Leedy. It goes through the process of brainstorming and how people write. And so I try to make the first unit and just the launch of writing workshop really exciting, really fun. And I am praising whatever they're doing. Because again, whether it's drawing or, writing words or whatever, they are sharing ideas, and writing is about sharing ideas. And so no matter where they are in that continuum, I'm encouraging them and trying to get them to the next step when it's appropriate. And also to review what I said with first grade, and this is also true of second grade, my second grade unit 1 is also very similar. It's all about them choosing their topics, choosing what they write, figuring out how to spell words on their own. And it sounds a little counterintuitive because you'd think at the beginning of the school year, you want to give them all this help and all that. But what I found is that giving them less help and making them rely on themselves sets you up for success for the entire year. So even if that sounds kind of counterintuitive and weird to you, I would encourage you to try it. Now, are you going to support them by making an anchor chart of topics we can write about? Yeah. Are you going to teach them spelling strategies? Definitely. And you're going to encourage them to refer back to that stuff. But you're just not answering them one-on-one when they're like, how do you spell this word? Or what should I write about? Because then they're relying on you. And there's only one of you, right? And if you are running around trying to help every single child spell words and figure out what the heck they're going to write about, that's not going to be a very calm, focused, productive writing workshop for you or your students. And so that's why I really believe in setting that tone of the responsibilities on them from the beginning of the year. My unit 1 of first grade or second grade writing workshop, if you happen to use that, some teachers have asked me what should they be writing, or what should their writing be like? And my personal opinion is just let them write a story, whatever that looks like, and accept whatever they're doing. Because really this first unit is about, again, encouraging them, getting them excited about writing, teaching procedures and routines, teaching them whether it's drawing or labeling or writing sentence, just the basics. And so that's what that first unit is really all about. I think that's all that I wanted to share with you. I hope that helps you get started a little bit with the school year. If you do have specific questions, whether you're watching this live or you come and are watching it later, do feel free to comment in the little chat and I will be happy to respond to you. I did forget to include those links to the different kindergarten, first grade, and second grade writing units, but I will leave those as a comment, or I'll edit it for you. But if you do have questions, feel free to let me know, and thank you so much for watching.